Hey everyone, welcome. It's been a long time since I had the chance to talk about SRAM brakes, but today is special because I have with me their latest, the most powerful, the 50% more powerful than the codes SRAM Mavens introduced in February 2024. You've actually seen these brakes on the Stumpy 15, so why don't we take a look at the details and see what they're about. Now, unless you're buying a new bike like this 2025 Stumpy 15 that already comes with the Maven brakes, chances are you're gonna buy this as an upgrade kit. So here's what you get in the box. Despite the size of the brakes, they are shipped in a box that is slightly smaller than a Shimano brake box. Here you go. When is the last time when you saw one of those? Here you're gonna see that this is Maven bronze, and here on the side you're gonna get all the other meaningful information about what's inside. You have a part number at the top, that's Maven bronze. And that 2000, that's the length of the hose. You can see made in Taiwan, and that's when it was manufactured. That would definitely be a rear brake. The front brake would say 950. That's the length of the hose that you are getting. And you can see actually a different part number here versus the 001 of the rear brake. There's actually three versions of these brakes, starting with the cheapest, the bronze, then silver, and ultimate. But don't worry, I'm gonna give you the details between these three as we talk about the individual components. In the box, you're gonna see the lever right away. This is held in place with a zip tie, and here he goes. Take a look at the size of that caliper, folks. Aside from the brakes, you're gonna get a nice bleeding block right here, and we also have that's a syringe attachment because this is using mineral oil, which is very special. You can see the green here because the fluid is green. Post brake assembly, look at all the bolts and the bracket itself. 180 to 200 or 200 to 220 depending on the post mounts on your bike. And these are the components for the rest of the bar clamp. Oh, interestingly, you're getting the Stealth-O-Matic, which is their SRAM way to attach your shifters directly to the brakes. Very nice to have this included in the box. Finally, you get the safety instructions, not much there. This QR code takes you to their service site. Highly recommend to check it out, especially because these new brakes use pretty much new fittings, new oil, and I bet my money that the service guys begged and prayed just to have this included. You also have here an extra olive and insert for when you are shortening the hose on your brakes. Now, if money is not a problem, forget about these tiny boxes made for the regular folk. They have the SRAM Maven Expert Kit that includes everything you might dream of, including 4 rotors from 180 all the way to 220. They also include the bleeding kit, the mineral oil from Maxima, pretty much everything you need to get these working on your bike. Now that we know what's in the box, let's take a look at the lever because there are a few new things that they've introduced with these brakes. First of all, the lever is fairly big, definitely compared to a Shimano, a Formula Cura, even the Hayes brakes that I looked at recently. And you see here the Maven BRZ stands for bronze. These are the cheapest ones you can have, easily distinguishable by the finish. The silver model comes in black, and the ultimate uses a slick, high polish lever with machine edges on the caliper and titanium hardware throughout. You can see the SRAM branding there. This is a big mama reservoir with the cap over here. These are using mineral oil. This is specifically designed for their needs. More about this mineral oil in a second. This is where you attach the bar clamp, and I showed you that already. This is a reach adjust that is tool free, so nice clicky here. The bronze has a bushing here for the lever. All the other ones will have a bearing. And what's new for these brakes is that red piece right in there. They call it a swing link. I translate this into equivalent to the Shimano Servo Wave. This is supposed to give us a nice, easy actuation of the lever that doesn't require a lot of force. To be honest with you, I did try these side by side with the Shimano 4-piston brakes that we have on the old Stumpy, and I can't really say that these brakes need any lighter actuation compared to the Shimano's. Just like in the past, you have one bleed port on each side because these can be installed either left or right. They are not dedicated. And this what's called stealth lever that goes parallel to the bar, it did see a change. You can see the angle at which the hose comes out of the lever now. When they initially introduced these, this hose would come out on an angle kind of like that, and there were many people complaining that the hose would rub onto the handlebar, so this is a welcome change. Since this is the first high-end SRAM brake that uses mineral oil, they have changed the actual bleed port. That's why you have this bleed hose included. Also, everything that has to do with this new mineral oil from Maxima has the color, distinctive color green, as opposed to the red in the past. And one last thing that differentiates these 3 levels of brakes is the bite point adjustment that would be right in here. You can see it on that Maven Ultimate. Also, the Silver has it as well, but that's nothing new. SRAM always used that bite point adjustment as a key differentiation between their different levels of brakes. So mineral oil, something that's new for them, and that mineral oil apparently was really truly needed just to make these new calipers, massive calipers, operate the way SRAM wanted them. It is the seal around those massive pistons that apparently needed a different type of fluid that was engineered by SRAM. And you can see the 4 pistons, 2 19.5, 2 18 millimeter pistons. They're quite massive, definitely biggest than what any other company uses out there. Now, bigger pistons can also mean less pressure in the system, and less pressure in the system can help with friction and ultimately give that light lever feel that SRAM was after. This caliper was built to be strong and not flex at all if possible, hence the 4 big bolts over here and this bridge at the top. But that means that there's only room for 2 heat ducts at the top, and then you will have to remove the pads from the bottom, something that you just saw on my review of the Hayes Dominion as well. As you remove the spacer, don't throw it away because SRAM kind of turned this into a useful tool. More about that later. You see the pads here with that steel backing plate, and to remove them you have a bolt. You have to remove it with 2.5 millimeter hex. Now, before you can do that, you have a circlip right here at the back. Is similar to what Shimano provides, but is different at the same time. Here we go. Then you can pull on your brake pads, and that's how easy it is to remove. By default, what we got here is the organic, not the metallic or sintered pads that they also provide. One thing that's interesting is the way SRAM talks about heat dissipation. If Shimano gives us finned pads, also they're talking about extra paint on the rotors to dissipate that heat as far away from the calipers as possible. SRAM talks about managing that heat. If you're using sintered metallic pads, you will actually be in that operating temperature for longer, so that can definitely be a benefit. Very curious to see how that would work in a place like Whistler, where, by the way, the Shimano Saint are still the kings. If you talk to the bike mechanics in that part of the world, that's what most of them run these days. These are Saint or Z pads, fin pads, and if you're wondering about the braking surface between the two, you can see how the SRAM braking surface is a bit longer, probably 5 millimeters longer. As for the width, is pretty much the same, meaning that they can both use the same type of rotors. The pad on the Mavens has that little notch right there in the middle, and you can see that is done so the spring actually stays in place. That's definitely a useful feature. I also mentioned that this spacer can be a useful tool. Look at this, I can use it to actually push the pistons back into the caliper. Okay, just jam it right in there, and here we go. Also, you have a couple of measurements. One is 1.7 and one is 155. I assume those are rotor thicknesses. And this one that says pad, that should be the minimal thickness recommended by SRAM for their pads. So all in all, pretty clever design of the spacer. At the back of the caliper, you can see the bleeding port right here in the corner. And if this bronze brake only has the hose coming straight out, the other ones do have a banjo, so you will be able to change the angle at which the hose exits the caliper. Such big pieces of aluminum must weigh something, right? Let's put them on the scale. This is the rear brake, so 200 millimeter hose, and it comes up to 403 grams. That bar clamp by itself is about 25 grams. Now this would be about 80 grams heavier than something like a Nexty 4 piston or Deore 4 piston. Mind you, the ultimate version of this will be lighter because it has pretty much all bolts made out of titanium. As you can see, the SRAM Maven kit is definitely geared towards upgrades, but just for perspective, if I put this caliper next to a Shimano 4-piston caliper, you can see that there is quite a bit of a difference in size. Now, that might not be an issue for the front brake, but definitely make sure that this big mama caliper would fit into your rear triangle, especially if the caliper is installed inside the rear triangle and not on top of the rear triangle like you see it with the Stumpjumper 15. And if you're wondering about the rotors that SRAM recommends with these brakes, they still talk about the good old center lines, but they also have the 2mm thick HS2s that come on this Stumpy 15. I would highly recommend to check them out for a good set of 2mm rotors. Unfortunately, just like with the Stumpy 15, I cannot really take these on the trail, so I cannot give you guys my riding impressions, but I hope I've provided you all the nitty-gritty details about these awesome, maybe awesome, huge brakes from SRAM. There's definitely a lot of little things to get excited about. The design of the caliper, the design of the lever or the changes on the lever. But I'm curious to hear if you guys are using SRAM Maven brakes. Are you using any other SRAM brakes for that matter? Or you're going back to Shimano, TRP, Hope, or Hayes? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions about the Mavens. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, hope to see you folks on the trails. Cheers, guys. Cheers.